situation last year, new team. When you're in that situation, how do you know without a lot of live reps and not a lot of preseason reps that things are moving in the direction you want them to go? And what are some like benchmarks you kind of look for?
Yeah, I think certainly training camp's a process, especially when you're kind of going through a process that may be new in some forms. And so the early part of it's really an installation process where we're trying to expose ourselves to as much scheme as we can that will come up throughout the course of a season, whether it's zone running game, gap running game, all the varieties. You just want to expose yourself to some of those things for the first couple weeks, and then we start narrowing our focus as we get into these preseason games, and the vets can kind of narrow their focus on identity and some of the things that we'll focus on moving forward.
What is the factor you want Jalen to be as a +1 factor in the run game?
Yeah, certainly. It's been an excellent factor that Jalen's been able to utilize, just being an extra guy in the run game. Certainly something we want to continue to build off of. I think there's an element of just finding the games, finding the situations that are right to best suit when we utilize that. But it's a great strength of Jalen. He does an excellent job, and I think he's a really smart runner. I think that's a critical factor to that. He's smart with the ball. He's smart with when to make those decisions, and I think he protects himself pretty well.
What has stood out about how he's run the offense from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, Jalen's been really smooth the first couple of days. It's been excellent. Just his operation, you can just tell he's in command. He's in control. He's doing an excellent job at the line of scrimmage with the little nuances and little adjustments that he has to his disposal, and so it's been really good.
Kellen, from your experience, when it comes to handling pass protection at the line of scrimmage, is it better for the quarterback to take the lead than the center, vice versa? Cam and Jalen have both kind of expressed that.
Yeah, there's different ways of approaching it. Obviously, really when you're around it, been around both aspects of it. I think at the end of the day, those two guys have to team up together. And so ultimately, sometimes the QB can see a little bit of a wider lens. His perspective may be a little bit different. And so he does have a trump card ability to make those adjustments when necessary. But Cam certainly gives us the ability to speed the process up, make a decision. Jalen can work with him and team up together. And so those guys are doing an excellent job the first couple of days, just continue to build on that.
What was the process? It actually shared across the offensive line in some ways too.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit in the way that you can how that works?
Yeah, I think when the offense line, they all have different vantage points, and so whether it be your tackles, your guards, or your center, I think it's critical that those guys are communicating, making the communication. A tackle may identify a particular look that may present something that we need to make an adjustment to, and so those guys teaming up together, making a call, and Jalen having the ability to make any adjustment necessary because he knows where his route combinations may allow him to throw it, whether it be a hot or an adjustment, whatever it may be. He knows where his answers may be and where he needs to protect himself.
What was the process like to try to tailor this offense a little bit to Jalen? How much back and forth was there?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think that's the great joy in this process is teaming up with Jalen and really this whole group. It's all of us together, teaming up on this thing, building on everyone's strengths and their experiences, making the adjustments that we need, and continue to find our ways. How are we going to evolve in 2024? It's not necessarily just what Jalen's done in the past, just what maybe I've been exposed to. It's what we're continuing to try and evolve and build on across all league trends.
What's been the biggest change in terms of what you see in Jalen when you first met him to where you're at now? What's been the biggest difference you've seen in his game?
It's a great question. I think just his comfort level with utilizing his toolbox and just, I think he's doing an excellent job leading this offense, taking command of the huddle, the operation. I think it's when they feel the confidence that Jalen comes to the huddle with and at the line of scrimmage, I think it's critical. And, I just can't say enough good things about the operation that he's been creating.
Kellen, how do you sort of assess the third wide receiver position and sort of how guys want to separate or what you need to see for them to separate themselves?
Yeah, it's a really fun process. We got some excellent guys here. It's a really deep receiving group. It's so much fun to watch all these guys compete. And so they'll all get their opportunities, all chances. Obviously, Devontae and AJ will obviously have certainly a lot of the opportunities, but those other guys, I mean, there's critical moments where we got to put those guys in position to succeed, and they have to be able to adjust based off where those guys are aligned. And so, you got to have smart guys that understand where they are and can be reliable. And so we got an excellent group to compete with.
Johnson talked about how your history used a lot of wide intensity blocking, not as much vertical. Can you explain the way you can the differences between those philosophies and how that works?
Sorry, say that again.
Lane Johnson was talking about blocking protection.
Yeah.
There's wide versus vertical, and in your history you use a lot of wide. Can you explain kind of the idea behind those?
Yeah. I think just again, there's just a variety of different things that we can present, and we're trying to expose ourselves to as many different ways in which we can utilize, whether it be protections, whether it be, the pocket movement, all the different things. And so we want to give ourselves to as much exposure and then tighten it up as we go into the season, because there's a lot of different tools based off the defenses that we play, and we just want to give them as much exposure to these different tools that we may use throughout the season. And so, we're continuing to build on those different toolboxes in each and every position. So,
Where did you get your terminology
terminology? That's a great question. I think we're continuing to evolve. I think, you start with, just naturally my exposure. Yeah, my exposure. I think, it started obviously in Dallas with Jason, and then Mike came in, and we made some adjustments from there. And so there's a little bit of a blending of those two worlds together. And so, I think that's the fun process about this thing is, words just kind of keep evolving and changing, adjusting throughout each and every place. And we try and build it, based off of, the comfort level of all the players.
How much input does Jalen have in helping you construct the offense and what you want to run?
Oh, yeah. Jalen's a huge part of this process. I think, his experience over the course of the last few years, all the things that he's been able to accomplish, we want to build on those things. And so when there's a comfort level with a certain concept or scheme, we want to make sure we emphasize that, continue to build off it. Okay, now if this is a core play that we feel really great about, how can we complement that play? How can we protect it with a different presentation, a different look? And those are the fun conversations we get to have, because we're continuing to build this thing each and every day.
It's obviously very, very early, Kellen, but do you get a feel of the presence that Saquon brings to the offense as far as it might help others, but it have that kind of impact?
Yeah, Saquon's obviously a special player. You can see it out here just in, without even pads. Just his burst quickness, his ability to hit the hole. Obviously, he'll be a guy that you can utilize at all aspects of the field. He can be a space player, which we're excited about in the passing game. And so, he's going to be able to attack people in a lot of different ways. And that's the exciting part. It won't be, just downhill run game. He'll be able to emphasize and do some other things. Music's perfect timing.
Kellen, both AJ and Devontae have said that this offense gives them maybe a little more freedom than they had previously, I guess, to move around or alter their routes based upon the coverage, et cetera. Can you give a little more about how that may differ from what has been here before, or how it may differ from the rest of the league?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know all the context going backwards, but I know, focusing on this year, I think a really big aspect is just continue to put these guys in various positions. And so it's not a traditional AJ always lines up, but let's say X, and you can anticipate him always being in this position, each and every play. And so we're continuing to move those guys, put them in position based off what our scheme, where things may go, or where we want to put them in high likelihood of touching the football, but also what's the defense presenting us so we can put those guys in advantageous situations.
So you don't have like a slot per se, like it's right. It's not X.
Yeah, I think by rule you have to have a starting point, and so we do have a starting point, but I think it's not going to be a very strong starting point. I think those guys are going to move throughout the game and throughout each and every week, and so that's the strength of theirs, is that their ability to handle all that, and then that goes into that third receiver having the ability to line up in a few different spots based off where those guys line up.
Here's the second tight end. Play caller is throwing the ball to a back a function of the scheme, or is it more of a safety valve for the quarterback?
Yeah, I think it's got to be both. It does have to be an outlet at times for the quarterback, but I think it's critical that we utilize those guys in the pass game to create horizontal space, and then every once in a while get them vertical. And so, we've been fortunate to be around some really good ones in the past. Saquon's going to be phenomenal. Kenny's done it here before. Will's obviously shown tons of evidence to support that he's going to be able to utilize that skill. And so we have three backs who can play a lot of different places on the field, and that'll be a huge advantage for us.
Kellen, looking at that second tight end spot, what are your early impressions of Grant Calcaterra and that group as a whole behind Dallas Goedert?
Yeah, excellent group first and foremost. Tons of depth, really good. We're excited about having the ability to play with a lot of those guys. Grant's really done an excellent job to be that second tight end currently. His just consistency throughout OTAs, early in training camp. He has a great awareness and understanding of the game. He teams up with Dallas really, really well, and so we're excited about that, and hopefully it continues to build.
Nick said he has taken a step back from the offense. What are the times where you do receive input from him?
Yeah, I think that's the fun part of this process. We're all teaming up together, and so when Nick's available, he's hopping in there, and he's part of the process, and it's a ton of fun. And I think what's cool about us is we all have different exposures, and so we're able to kind of team up and bring all those different ideas and concepts together, and really continue to build and evolve this thing.
The last couple seasons, Jalen has mostly had like a static picture pre-snap, so you're introducing a lot more motion. What's the process been like of getting him comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think, again, like you said, it's just a visual thing. The more you rep things, at times, if you choose to use motion for particular reasons or situations, it's just exposure to see the defense change and how those changes are presented. Again, it's reps, it's experience, and then understanding kind of what we're trying to create because of it.
You've had some great offensive lines in Dallas. As a play caller, what's it like to have that luxury that you don't have to really help the tackles all that much?
No, obviously, Jordan and Lane are two of the best in this entire league. They're phenomenal vets. They understand the game. They play the game at a really high level from a physical standpoint, but also from an intellectual standpoint. And so it's fun to just see those guys play each and every day. It's a huge advantage for this place.
In talking to us in the spring, Doug Nussmeier mentioned the 2.3 second rule. I've seen you quoted with that before. What's the origin of that rule or the background of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if 2.3 is the exact number, but we've utilized that number in the past at different places. And part of the thing is just emphasizing that every play, we spend all our time trying to draw up some beautiful play that's going to work perfectly, and we all hope and have those dreams. It doesn't always happen that way in the NFL, and so there is a second component to every play where you can get into the off-schedule part of this thing and continue to emphasize that, because that's a huge strength for Jalen, his ability to run after that, but also still remain a passer. And the O-line has to strain longer. They have to keep protecting. The skill guys have to find the open space, and so we're continuing to try and build on those emphasis, moving forward.
What are your impressions of
Kenny's done a really nice job. I think you can tell he's played a lot of ball. He's smooth. He knows how to operate. He finds completions. He has some sneaky athletic ability where he can get out in space in some of those scramble situations or QB design runs. He's done a couple of those, and so we feel really fortunate to have Kenny here.
Thanks,
All right, thanks, guys.